So there were a few games as a kid that I found quite disturbing. A few of them from the PlayStation 1 era, some from the Xbox 360 era, but all in all, they all had some strange way of bringing themselves back up and resurfacing into my life, or even just confusing the hell out of me. Here is my top 5 strange, spooky games that I still think of to this day since my childhood. Let's check them out. So first up, we have Vampire Rain. Developed by Artone. It was released for the Xbox 360 in Japan on January 25th, 2007, and in North America on July 3rd, 2007. I always saw this game at Blockbuster as a teenager, not knowing what it was all about. The back cover of this game made it look like a top-down vampire shooting game, similar to like a light gun game, but after looking at some gameplay online, it's really not. It's more like a Siphon Filter spin-off with vampire zombie things. The cover of this game has always lived in the back of my head without fail. Never played the game, never got a chance to hire it at Blockbuster, but always saw the cover and the back cover and always thought about it. So maybe I should consider picking it up sometime. If you played this strange Vampire Rain game before, please let me know in the comments. Next up, we have Clive Barker's Jericho. This game was developed by Mercury Steam and Alchemic Productions and was published by Codemasters. Now, Codemasters is a familiar name in the game space. I remember them making really good racing games back in the day. A few to mention were the Grid series. Now, Clive Barker is a famous author, hence why it's called Clive Barker's Jericho. This game was released in Microsoft's Windows, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 in 2007. Now, this game has possibly the scariest cover. When I first saw this game, I had absolutely no idea what the premise of it was. I mean, just look at this thing. What is happening? Until researching for this video, I didn't actually know that Clive Barker was a famous author, so there you go, I might have to look him up. Here is a small wiki summary for the game. Before Adam and Eve were created, God fashioned the firstborn. Neither male nor female, light nor dark, both terrible and beautiful to behold. It disturbed the Almighty who banished this flawed creation into the abyss. There it waited and watched until it was able to reach out with its power into the world. It's a bit of a freaky game. I do recall a few areas in the demo I played where you're like in trenches and stuff. It is a first-person shooter game after all. It's got that classic Xbox 360 PS3 feel. It was honestly very similar to the Fear game franchise, having you fighting in tombs, caves, and as I said, trenches. Now, I haven't ever completed the game fully, but I'm drawing mainly from the shattered memories of a forgotten past I have. All in all, it did freak me out when I first played it, and I'm sure it would freak me out again, especially that weird cover. Good work, Clive Barker. You did your job. Next up, we have 40 Winks. Now, I own a sealed copy of this game on the PS1. It was developed by Eurocom Entertainment Software and published by GT Interactive for PlayStation. A version was developed for the Nintendo 64, and it was reviewed in both Nintendo Magazine UK and Nintendo Power, but it was actually cancelled before release, so the only current versions of this game are for the PlayStation. This was possibly the strangest platforming game I'd played in my childhood. It released when I was born, and I recall finding it on a demo disc for the PlayStation 1. The two main characters, the brother and the sister, were always on game magazines or attached to some Sony branding in some form or another, but they were a mystery to me. Much like a popular game character Klonoa, until I recently played those remasters on the PS5 this year, I had no idea who that cat character was. Sometimes that happens with games. You see characters that you just have no idea who they are, and they float around in your brain until they just either pop up again or you play a game with them in it. And some games just stick with you. Like, I have vivid memories of a clock NPC character in this game popping out of the attic and creeping the hell out of me. Now, playing this on a big old 32-inch Panasonic plasma TV in the middle of the night, you can imagine how creepy it was. Also, walking around the game, what I recall being a front and back garden of a manor, which I think is the first level in this game. I want to play through the entire game sometime soon though, so I can recall those memories and give the game some love, because as creepy as the atmosphere is, it's a rare game in terms of its art style, gameplay, and approach. It definitely has a bit of a Banjo-Kazooie feel to it as well, so I do assume, you know, it was made around that time and it was meant to be published with Nintendo as well for the N64, so there's no surprise there. The goal of 40 Winks is to collect 40 Winks scattered around a world to stop an evil man called Nightcap. Nightcap wants to turn the Winks into hoodwinks, who are responsible for giving children nightmares. So the whole game is nightmare focused, which is probably why it was so weird and freaky to play as a kid. Next up, we have Karushi, also known as Intelligent Cube in North America. I know it as Karushi because I had a weird European demo, and it says here that the European demo in 1997 was named Karushi. So it was a puzzle video game developed by G Artists and published by Sony Computer Entertainment for the PlayStation 1. Now, I know I just said 40 Winks was strange, but this game takes the cake for what the hell am I playing? Imagine booting this thing up when you're on the PS1, no idea what the hell you're playing. The aim of the game is to run away from the cubes and let the green ones pass through you, I believe. It's almost like a deranged version of Tetris. The one thing I can't get out of my head in this game was the strange scream your character does as he falls into the abyss. You're playing as a strange businessman, falls off of the face of the earth, and that scars you as a child into never playing it again. There's also multiple camera angles when you fall. It adds like an intense nature to falling to your death over and over. Now, I didn't realize how strange this game was, but a businessman running away from cubes, I don't know if it's meant to be a metaphor for something. It's on the PS5 at the moment in the games catalog. I didn't play it again till recently to pique my interest. I sort of saw it and went, holy crap, it's that game. And honestly, it's worth a shot, even if you've never played it before. It's just really strange. It's up there. Now, the final game we're going to talk about today is my favorite of all time in terms of first-person shooters. It's Fear. First Encounter Assault Recon. Yep, I know, stay in your seats, remain seated. This game was insane. Developed by Monolith Productions and published by Vivendi Games, the Windows version was released worldwide in October 2005. And oh boy, was this a fun first-person shooter. My dad got me this game for my birthday one year when I traded in enough games to trade for my Xbox 360, back when you could do that. I traded in X amount of games for an Xbox 360, and my first games were Assassin's Creed 1, Lost Planet, Crackdown 1, and Fear. Man, I loved this game. The story is apparently really creepy and a fantastic horror game, but I rarely even played it or looked at it. What lives rent-free in my head for this game was the instant action mode. They actually removed it from the Steam versions of the game for some reason, but on the original hard disk copies, they can't remove it. Take that, digital media. It's what every kid loves in a first-person shooter. Slow motion, waves of enemies, loud weapons, mechs, and amazing gun mechanics for its time. If you've seen the more recent game release Trepang 2, that was heavily inspired by Fear, so definitely check it out. Fear's choice of weapons, sound effects, and addictive gameplay, I would play it listening to heavy metal for hours, gunning down multiple enemies in this game mode. There was multiple maps to choose from, like this hangar map as well. And just remind yourself, I haven't checked out these games since I'm talking about them. It's all fresh from my memory, just to make this video a bit more natural. But no, I'm sure you could find a key for this game pretty cheap these days, and I recommend checking it out. And if you can get the DLC somehow to play instant action, please do. It's an absolute blast. Back when weapons actually meant something in games and they sounded loud, like Black from EA Games. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check them out. Well, thank you all so much for joining this video. I really hope you did enjoy my little chat about the 5 games that are living rent-free in my head that are spooky. It's Halloween at the moment, so I wanted to cover something Halloween focused. So if you enjoyed, make sure to like this video and share it around. It really would mean the world. Make sure to comment down below what was your favorite game or one that reminisces with you the most. Stay deadly, and I will see you guys in the next video.